Look at Uruguay and what they've been able to do at the World Cup. I just mentioned, a couple of players who have been very instrumental to all the success they've had in the last couple of years. Luis Suarez, who we'll speak about in great detail. They've got a blend of experience and youth now. So as much as you could say Uruguay have a generation that is waiting to, pass the torch on. The likes of Diego Godin, Edison Cavani, Luis Suarez. They've got young players as well in Darwin Núñez. You've got the guy at Tottenham Hotspur, Rodrigo Bentancur, Araujo at Barcelona. So there's a real blend of mix and experience, of youth and experience there. Could that be the best thing for a national team? Or do you rather have more experienced heads going into a major tournament like this?
Yeah, I would rather have what they have at the moment, that blend of experience and youth, the exuberance of the exciting players coming through. Fede Valverde from Real Madrid, Facundo Pellistri, another exciting young player down the flank. And of course, Darwin Núñez looks like he is going to step into Luis Suarez's shoes in the next few years or so. But that experience, having people like Diego Godin around, goalkeeper Fernando Muslera, another very experienced campaigner, just to have that experience. Sebastian Coates as well, the Sporting Lisbon defender, is another player who still on the fringes of the national team. It's really good because when you go into tournament, what you want is people who've been there and done that, people who know how to the know-how of tournament, and that's what they have. And with Suarez, maybe not the legs anymore, Godin as well, not the legs anymore, but so much experience. Look at that squad there. Great team going into the World Cup, and you would feel that they would be in and about, not win the World Cup, but they would be in and about quarterfinal, semi-final.
Or Uruguay have qualified to the World Cup on 13 occasions, made it to the second round on 10 occasions, and of course the finals 2 occasions, semi-finals on 5 occasions. So it tells you about just how progressive they are at major tournaments. Look, when you go back to the 2010 World Cup, right, where you feel like they probably should have had something more in that World Cup. I mean, how good are they now? How good are they now? You think about Brazil, who are real favorites, and you told me off the air that you think Brazil will win the World Cup this particular year as well. England have grown in leaps and bounds. So where are Uruguay? If you're putting them on a scale of 1 to 10, on as far as winning, where would you put them? Would you put them on a 7?
But probably put them on a 6. I probably put them on a 6th or 5th because I always say that sometimes it's not about the individuals you have. When you go to tournaments, it's about know-how. It's about being there and done that. And that's what they have. They have players who've been there and done that. Suarez is potentially going to play in his 4th World Cup. Godin is saying the same thing. And that counts for something, when you have a player or a group of players who will experience this thing at this level consistently. It helps the younger players. It helps the younger players to say, look, we know how to go about this game. This is not panic stations. If something is not going according to plan, you have the experienced heads in the dressing room saying, don't worry, we can't panic. We know how to come back into the game. So I feel they're a very, very strong team going into the World Cup and will surprise many. Obviously, I think they'll get into the quarterfinals. And from there, you never know.
Let's take a look at Uruguay's group then. They find themselves in an interesting group, Ini. Look, Ghana, you think about Portugal, who they've also gone past in time past. So they pretty much have an experience of playing these teams, which is not something it's not a luxury not many teams have, knowing how this team plays, knowing how that team plays, having the mental edge over them. So that's the group there, Group H, Uruguay, Ghana, Mexico. Look, that's a tough group.
It is a tough group on many levels because you look at Mexico, Central American solid team, very, very strong, exciting players as well. Ghana, the physicality of the African team. Portugal as well, an exciting team who in some ways have a bit of similarity to Uruguay with a lot of experience and youth coming through as well. Should be an interesting one. But I fancy Uruguay will top that group. I really do. Because I just feel like when they go to tournaments, they know how to get it done. And you always worry about teams, how do they play? What is the style of play? Uruguay not particularly that team where you say this is a recognizable style.
Right.
They go into tournament very pragmatic. If they need to adapt to what the opponent is bringing, they will do that. They've got a new manager in Diego Alonso. Obviously, a new sense of direction with Oscar Tabarez leaving the helm after 15 years. But I just feel like going into the tournament, they would be a lot stronger, and I fancy they would top that group.
Just as we leave the Uruguay conversation, who would be their most important player, do you think? Obviously, Darwin Núñez has just moved to Liverpool. For Uruguay's sake, they'll be thinking he needs to start scoring goals at Liverpool. He needs to get a good run at Liverpool. Edinson Cavani is in Spain. Luis Suarez moved back to Uruguay, where he's having a great time there. So it's a bit of everything they've got. So who could be their most important player? Could it still be the old warhorse in Luis Suarez, or could younger kids like Federico Valverde, who we're now seeing is growing into his own at Real Madrid?
I fancy that, and it's a huge call, but I fancy that Valverde would be the most important player for Uruguay because he's got that extra spring in his step. Every time he gets on the ball, he gets his team going. He can get the team up and down the pitch. His ability to cover every blade of grass would be very important for Uruguay. I just fancy that if he has a really good tournament in that midfield alongside Bentancur, he would be a very, very pivotal player for them.
Federico Valverde, one of the players who used a great effect actually at Real Madrid last season, who came on a couple of times. We also saw him score a credible goal last week in the La Liga. So Uruguay would have their eyes on that player. And if you believe what Ini says could be their most important player going into a Winter World Cup, right then.